Hi, and welcome to the How to Survive Healthcare podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Thompson-Riviere, seasoned critical care RN turned independent patient advocate. Tune in every week so that you can learn the things about the U.S. healthcare system that no one ever tells you. That way that you can get the most from it and optimize your health outcomes. Now, of course, this podcast is strictly to inform and entertain and should never be taken as a substitute for medical advice. Let's dive right in. Welcome to another episode of How to Survive Healthcare. Right now, it is the Summer Olympics in Paris. Are you watching? I personally am not. I have to admit, we're not a big sports household. But did you know that there's an estimated 15 million people in Paris right now for the Olympics? That is just wild to me. I could not imagine being somewhere where there are that many people in one place. Really gives me a little bit of anxiety thinking about it. I am not that much of a people person. But on today's topic, inspired by the Olympics, it got me thinking, how can we bring a little bit of Olympics to our own life? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, here in America, we are not known for being the picture of health like you might picture with an Olympian. One of the biggest issues is that we, by and large, live a very sedentary lifestyle. So if that's you, please listen up, and I'd like to challenge that today. I'm going to go through some of the reasons why functional regular movement is important. I know we've all heard that we should be exercising, but do you know actually all of the reasons why? There's quite a few different health benefits, some that may even be news to you. So listen up for that. And then I'm going to also cover some really practical ways to start incorporating some of that movement into your life if it's not there already. So I'd like to start by going through some of those benefits of regular exercise. Now, I want to say that in my own experience as a nurse over the past decade or so, I have really found it to be astoundingly clear. A person's activity level is very indicative of their longevity and how well they age. So I've seen that the people who are always moving, and it doesn't have to be like a specific exercise, like, oh, that person is a runner or they're doing CrossFit, but people who are engaged in regular physical functional movements as part of their daily lifestyle tend to do quite well. In the area that I live, we have a lot of our elderly population is farmers or in that kind of lifestyle, and they always do so well. I'll never forget, I had a patient one time in the ICU who she was 90 something, and she had pneumonia, and it hit her pretty hard because she was 90 something. But other than that, she was astoundingly healthy and very feisty thing. And her family was talking about how she would hate this ICU stay because she was always moving every day. And once she started to improve and she came off of the breathing machine, she was itching to get out of there because there was a storm and she had to go out in her yard and pick up the sticks. And this lady, she's like, I do this every time it storms. Every day she walks. And I've seen that story play out over and over. This is not somebody who, she probably wouldn't say that she has an exercise program. So I don't want you to get hung up on that. The key is daily physical functional movement. So it's not just my stories though, right? Like we have a lot of science that backs up all the different effects that exercise has on the body. So let's go through some of them. We know one of the most obvious ones is cardiovascular health. Regular exercise works and thereby strengthens our heart, which lowers blood pressure and reduces the risk of heart disease. Both of those things contribute to a lot of mortality here in the US. It also helps to regulate blood sugar levels, which can help to manage or prevent type 2 diabetes. It also significantly increases our bone density and our muscle mass. That helps to prevent osteoporosis and keeps us strong and balanced as we age. One of the leading causes of death in the elderly is falls. So the more you can keep your own balance, the less likely you are to have a fall that would lead to, say, a hip fracture and then death. Some interesting things you may not know about regular exercise is that studies have now shown that exercise protects telomeres, which are the protective caps on chromosomes. So all the way down to the cellular level. It keeps them from shortening. And shorter telomeres are associated with aging and disease. And I found that to be very interesting when I learned that. And it makes sense, though. If you think about people in your life who are, further on in years, but do move their body regularly, they do tend to look younger than their more sedentary counterparts. So now there's actually some science behind that, if you've noticed that as well. Also, looking down on the cellular level, regular exercise helps to reduce inflammation and keep our hormones balanced. And our hormones tell our messengers for all sorts of functions in the body. And inflammation it's a pretty general term, but it's not good. And it's associated with a variety of chronic illnesses. Of course, we also derive mental and emotional benefits from regular exercise, both in the short term, because physical activity releases endorphins, which that's our natural mood boosting hormones. And then also in the long term, it helps to manage stress and anxiety. And cognitively, keeps you sharp and can help reduce the risk of dementia. So one of the biggest issues that we see here in America is weight. We have an astounding amount of our population that is overweight, which puts us at risk for heart disease, stroke, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, sleep apnea, liver disease, certain cancers, joint problems, and mental health issues. A regular exercise program directly combats all of these things at once, and then also leaves us with those the benefits that I just mentioned a minute ago. So, okay, I hear you. You're like, Kayla, I'm sold. I need to do more activity. I've heard that before, but now I have a deeper understanding as to why, but I don't even know where to start. And friend, I got you there. So first and foremost, I want you to talk to your doctor and make sure that you are healthy enough for exercise, and that they don't have any sort of restrictions or limitations they want you to follow. Everything I say on my podcast is just general advice, but your doctor is going to know you the best. But moving forward from there, I want you to start with small, realistic goals. Something may have popped in your head just now, and if it did, I want you to think even smaller. Now, you might be like, Kayla, what is the point of going that small? You know, if I want to make progress, I want to take big steps forward so I can get there faster. And I love that enthusiasm. But here's what I found to be true over the years is that our brain was developed 10,000 years ago when we had to hunt and search for our food all day. We were expending a lot of energy, wasn't always a lot of food to eat, and we had to make sure that we were protecting ourselves from creatures that were out to get us. We do not live in that place anymore. We have like the opposite problem in America as far as having enough food to eat. And we don't have to do anything to get it. But our brain hasn't caught up with this new phase of the world that we live in. So our innate instincts and our primal brain is developed to keep us from taking too many risks and to keep us safe and conserve energy. So if we're quite sedentary right now and all of a sudden we start trying to do too much too soon, we are probably not going to be able to be consistent with that habit. It's just too much change. What I want you to focus on is changing by the smallest increments. And I mean, shoot for like a 1% change every day. Now, that might not sound like much, but if you're 1% better every day, the way that it compounds, you're going to have significant change on your hands before you know it. and it'll be at a pace that's actually sustainable. So what does this look like? If you're somebody who's totally sedentary right now and you want to, for instance, walk a 5K, you might think, okay, well, my first goal, if I want to do 5K, is let's start with 1K. But I would say even that is too big. If you're starting from zero, I want you to just take the first step. So commit to every day when I get home from work at 6 o'clock, I'm going to do my physical activity. And that first day, maybe it's something as small as just putting on your sneakers and stepping outside, not actually going anywhere. And then maybe the next day you step outside and walk out to the car. And then maybe the next day you walk to the mailbox and back. And you see how we're just very tiny baby steps, just incrementally increasing that level of difficulty to where you want to keep it at a place where it's so easy that you have no reason not to do it. And that's where you're going to see success. If you try to do too much too soon, you're going to most likely get overwhelmed. Have you ever had a New Year's resolution that you made and then by January 31st, it was not even a thought anymore? Probably because what you were setting out to do was way too big of a shift. And we really want to swing that pendulum the other direction and build upon tiny, tiny incremental steps. Next, it probably goes without saying, but I want you to choose activities that you enjoy. If you choose running to be your new exercise and you absolutely hate running because it hurts your knees, you're probably not going to stick with running. On that note, a lot of people who have extra pounds on their frame do find running and exercises similar to it to be physically uncomfortable, particularly on the knees. If that's a category that you fall into, I would encourage you to look into a pool near you, at least in the short term, maybe the first couple of months when activity is a new thing for you. Getting in the pool provides a feeling of weightlessness, so you don't have nearly as much strain on your joints as you do as walking on land. However, it's a fantastic resistance exercise, so that can help you to get moving and start to lose some of those pounds so that moving around on the pavement isn't going to cause you pain. And lastly, I want you to find a partner, find somebody that you can do this with. It's a lot harder to flake out on another person than it is on yourself. And also, it would be fantastic to have somebody in your corner who's going to challenge you if you do feel like you want to quit. And also then you can uplift them and kind of feed off of each other. It'd be great if you had somebody in your household who could be your exercise partner, but if not, you can look at some of your local groups on Facebook. If you're a mom, there's always local moms groups. Ask somebody at work and maybe you implement it during your lunch hour or before or after work. Or any hobbies that you're in, ask around there too. Get creative, but get somebody to go along to do it with you. So I hope that you found this all really helpful. I hope that you've learned something for some of the benefits of exercise, perhaps you didn't know before, and that you maybe take away some items. So I would love to hear how this sits with you or how you're going to build in your exercise routine. Remember, the goal is really consistency, not to make it a difficult activity. So put it on the calendar, set an alarm, whatever you got to do, but commit, and small incremental changes is what's going to get you there. I'd love to hear from you. And if this is something you need help with, please don't hesitate to reach out. Take care, and I'll see you next week.